Yo, what's up, Banter fam? Welcome back to the show. We have a lot to discuss today. A lot did happen overnight. We obviously had the FOMC, which ended up resulting in a 25 basis point hike, but some very interesting shifts of tone from Jerome Powell did move the markets. We also had Janet Yellen coming out and saying something totally contradictory to Jerome Powell, which did spook the markets. And did result in a little bit of a sell-off in the stock market. And we also had major news that the SEC would be going after Coinbase. So Operation Choke Point 2.0 continues to develop and get more severe. And of course, we have the Arbitrum airdrop tomorrow. So I'm going to be covering all of these topics and more in today's show. It's going to be a massive market update. And of course, I'm going to tell you how I think all these events do affect the market and change the macro picture of the market, because obviously Bitcoin has been showing a lot of strength lately, but we recently have started to break down a little bit on the charts and shoot through some key levels. So I wanted to just talk about what potentially could happen to the Bitcoin price over the next few weeks, especially if what Jerome Powell said will maybe have a little bit of an impact on the banks, because there are some some really contradictory takes coming out of the Fed. And the market is a little bit undecided right now as to what it means, but I'll do my best to break down exactly what happened. So before we get into the charts, before we get into Arbitrum, let's talk about what happened with the FOMC overnight. So essentially the Fed hiked rates 25 basis points. We basically knew this was going to happen before FOMC. There was like a 90 to 95% chance, according to the probabilities, that we would get a 25 basis point hike. And in that event, in yesterday's show, I said, look, if we do get 25 BPS, the market's likely to be flat, but it will all depend on the Fed dot plot, which shows the expected rate cuts / rate hikes for the next couple of years, as well as Jerome Powell's wording. And that is really where the market got most of its move, from this dot plot. So basically what this dot plot shows is, and you can see on the bottom axis, the year that they are expected to shift the interest rates. We could see that rate cuts aren't expected until 2024. So it's extremely interesting because Powell says participants don't see rate cuts this year, and the dot plot doesn't show a likelihood of rate cuts this year. It shows rate cuts maybe starting to happen in the beginning of 2024. However, the market futures are anticipating 100 basis points in rate cuts by December. So there's a huge discrepancy opening up, a huge disconnect between what Jerome Powell is saying and what the dot plot is saying, which is showing no, we're not getting any rate cuts until 2024, and what the market is predicting, which is that we actually get 1% worth of rate cuts by December. So what the market is pricing in and what Jerome Powell is saying is very different. Why is this the case? Well, probably because we have a looming bank crisis on our hands. And a lot of the market is saying, well, the Fed's just going to have to cut at some point. If the banks keep imploding, if the banks keep collapsing, they're going to need to cut more aggressively than Jerome is saying. But surprisingly to some people, Jerome has continued to toe a very hard line, a very hard stance on fighting inflation. And that is his number one prerogative right now, to fight inflation. And that is starting to cause, as I said, lots of disconnect between him, other Fed speakers, even Janet Yellen, and also the rest of the market. So it's pretty crazy that essentially he isn't anticipating any rate cuts. But to be honest, I'm not that surprised that he said that, because he kind of needs to stick to his narrative, or else, if he backs down, maybe he looks a little bit stupid. But does that add fuel to the fire of the banking collapse is the major question. And if that happens, how does that start to affect equities? How does that start to affect crypto? Markets and Mayhem said no changes to the Fed's QT programs. That's quantitative tightening. They're still anticipating to continue to run down their balance sheet. So essentially take $95 billion off their balance sheet every single month. What's crazy though, is that they essentially eradicated 4 months worth of this QT via the bank liquidity injection that happened last week. So we saw more than $300 billion be injected into the market. And we also saw the major banks teaming up to provide swap lines for liquidity provisions. Essentially, that is a way to backstop the US dollar, because there's been a lot of global uncertainty surrounding the US dollar, with Putin starting to pay out his trade payments in yuan and rubles, or yuan and rubles. So like the US dollar has been kind of under threat from a global perspective. So obviously, the banks are trying to backstop and shore up US dollar liquidity and kind of try and provide a bit of stability there by injecting liquidity into the system. And then obviously the Fed stepped in to try and provide a backstop for the banks to be able to pay out customer deposits. And that's why they essentially had to inject more money into that ecosystem in the form of loans to banks, which they do have to pay back, by the way. So it's not free money, but I mean, it kind of is a form of immediate cash for the banks to be able to get out of a tricky situation, specifically the smaller banks that were facing a lot of difficulties and were experiencing bank runs. But Powell, in the face of all that, has been saying, if we need to raise rates higher, we will. And they'll continue to raise in order to fight inflation. So what were the major takeaways from the FOMC? The number one takeaway is that inflation remains enemy number one. The Fed committed to higher rates and more increases. So they're continuing to toe that hard line of fighting inflation. The Fed baseline is for no rate cuts in 2023, as we can see exemplified via the dot plot here. We don't see rate cuts kicking in until the beginning of 2024. And they still are anticipating a federal funds rate closer to the 6% range. I think most speakers actually kind of anticipated a 5 to a 5.5% funds rate, but it could be as high as 6%. One of the FOMC participants anticipates that'll be the case. By the way, if you want to understand how the dot plot works, basically individual participants kind of give their assessment of the appropriate monetary policy. So each dot represents one participant. If there's more participants, that means that's kind of the likelihood or the consensus amongst the Fed. So that's why most people are saying 5.25 is that target rate that we could probably aim towards, which means maybe a couple more rate hikes and then maybe a pausing of rate hikes, see how things settle into the economy before anticipating rate cuts, which, as I said, aren't likely to happen until 2024, at least according to the Fed dot plot. So essentially that is one of the major reasons why the market sold off, because rate cuts weren't talked about. Obviously, that would have been a pretty dovish Powell and probably set the markets flying, but that's not the narrative that he was pushing. And he essentially alluded to the fact that banking stress is the equivalent of a rate hike. So that's essentially in the market acting as a pseudo rate hike in a way. TED Talks Macro says here that Powell's the GOAT of press conferences. He was looking, I did listen to the press conference. He was looking a little bit more nervous than usual. He also, basically said the same thing that he says time and time again, except with a couple major shifts. The first major shift was Powell saying that I would focus my attention to the words may and some in our statement, not ongoing and additional. So this line kind of alluded, at least to me, that Powell is softening his tone a little bit, maybe scared that if they come out super overly hawkish, that they will tank the markets even more in the face of what already is a pretty scary, banking crisis. So it's interesting that the adjectives are changing here slightly from, really strong words to slightly softer words. And, now he's saying things like may and some instead of ongoing and additional. Just a small tweak in the wording that maybe indicates the Fed's blinking a little bit. So that's what the markets responded really positively to. If you look at Bitcoin, there was actually a wick all the way up until 29K during FOMC. So if you were watching FOMC, you would have been thinking, oh, wow, we're probably going to pump here. Like Jerome, yeah, he's hawkish, but and the dot plot was slightly more hawkish than we thought, but he is softening a little bit. Maybe this is bullish for markets. That's what most people thought until Yellen came out and dropped a bombshell. Now, this is crazy. Yellen spoke during the same time that Jerome Powell was conducting FOMC. So this flew under the radar a little bit, but this is the real reason why markets tanked, by the way. Stock market down 1.7%. As we can see here, quite a red daily candle, or black if you're looking at my charts. Bitcoin also had that major pullback before bouncing on the 26.5 level. Why did we get that pullback? Well, I actually think it was mostly due to Yellen saying that we are not considering insuring all uninsured bank deposits. So while all eyes were on FOMC, she made some pretty big claims about the banking crisis, and I recommend going and watching that speech if you have a bit of spare time today. So Powell said insuring, he alluded to that they would continue to support banks, and then Yellen said not insuring. So it's quite weird. We have Jerome coming out and saying one thing, Yellen coming out and saying another thing. I think the divide amongst market participants here is massive. The divide between the narratives that are being pushed by either side here are just almost completely different. They're supposed to be on the same side essentially, but that's not really what we're seeing. Yellen said situations like the run on Silicon Valley Bank may more readily happen in the future. So she didn't sound too positive when it came to the banking system. And she didn't come out and also explicitly say that they would support either. They said they wouldn't insure. So that was, I think, the bombshell that caused the markets to drop. It really is this fear of banking contagion starting to spread in tandem with what is maybe a slightly more aggressive Fed than was anticipated. I say slightly because I don't think Jerome put a bombshell on the market. I think it was this that put a bombshell on the market, and Jerome just added a tiny bit of fuel. Because Bitcoin was pumping up until this speech, by the way. So it's kind of like you have to attribute the drop to something, although we often do see manipulated price action around FOMC. So this is quite a common thing where you see a pump and then a dump and then a reversal. It's pretty common that you see crazy price action surrounding FOMC. Then afterwards, so after all that stuff, we got news that Coinbase received a Wells notice from the SEC. So the fight on crypto, the war on crypto, is not coming to an end. It continues to get more and more and more severe. And this is so perplexing to me on so many levels because Coinbase have been real proponents of positive crypto regulation. Coinbase have always made great strides to try and get clarity from the SEC over products they can and can't offer. And for many months or possibly many years, they've been trying to get regulatory clarity and really haven't been able to get it. And they, instead of getting clarity over what they are and aren't allowed to do from a regulatory perspective, they got served a Wells notice. So instead, and they said this in their own words, we asked the SEC for reasonable crypto rules for Americans. We got legal threats instead. And you can go and read Brian Armstrong's statement. I won't read the whole thing, but essentially he says, today Coinbase received a Wells notice from the SEC, focus on staking and asset listings. A Wells notice typically precedes an enforcement action. This is going to likely end up in court. This is going to likely end up setting precedent for many other crypto companies. And the SEC wants to use Coinbase as an example here. Thankfully, we have the US court system. Thankfully, I think they're going to be able to fight this. I'm not a legal expert, of course, but from what I'm hearing, from many of the big names in the space, Coinbase does have a solid case here, and it is going to set precedent for the crypto market in general. So the fight on crypto doesn't end. It's obviously, we have the Fed Now program, the payments program launching soon. We have the US CBDC that's being trialed. There is clearly an agenda here, and that is pushing back against crypto and pushing towards a CBDC and pushing towards Fed Now payments. And that is a very, very, very scary precedent to set. And unfortunately, the current Biden administration seems hell-bent on killing crypto. And it's a shame, but unfortunately, this is probably the number one headwind for crypto in the US. And that it doesn't mean crypto is going to die. I don't have that opinion at all. But it is definitely going to shift the focus out of the US for crypto, I believe. At least until the next administration. Maybe DeSantis gets elected. But until then, I do foresee a lot of innovation being pushed out of the US, and I see the East probably as the rising power in the crypto space. Asia becoming more relevant. Hong Kong, for example, just legalized crypto trading for retail. We're also seeing like the UAE being really proactive. I think those countries, even like Singapore, even Australia, like I don't know how, I'm an Australian, I don't know how we're going about things, but from what I've seen, we're not being as harsh as the US. We're not flat out attacking crypto companies. We're more trying to map tokens and work out what and what isn't a security. And so far, what I've seen coming out of Australia is more positive than America. I just hope we don't fall under this trap of copying America because they say something, so we do it, kind of like what we've seen in the past. And that would be the worst case scenario for crypto if big nations, especially European countries, countries like Australia, just kind of copy the US's playbook because it's the US and we kind of wait for their lead. I think every country has to define their own stance on crypto and define their own precedent, because there's a huge opportunity now for nations to embrace what is probably going to be a driving of capital and innovation out of the US and into other countries. So the East probably going to be a huge beneficiary. We're already seeing a power shift when it comes to the US dollar, potentially to other currencies. And global trade alliances now occurring, excluding the US dollar. We're seeing US dollar being rapidly printed, and there's an inflation problem. I mean, it's a mess. Let's be honest, guys, it's a mess. The macro outlook right now is a complete mess, and so is the regulatory outlook for crypto. But there is like a shining light at the end of the tunnel in the sense that this is Bitcoin's chance now, especially this year, to break away from the traditional financial system and correlation that it's experienced and run on its own digital gold narrative. And that's what we've seen over the past few weeks. My only concern is that if it does start to get treated once again like a risk asset, because decorrelation hasn't happened for a long enough period of time to set the standard for Bitcoin, then it may still buckle under the pressure that the stock market's buckling under. But you also have the bullish case that, the Fed ends up implementing rate cuts a bit sooner than the dot plot suggests, because they need to, because they cause a banking collapse. And then, things like Bitcoin and risk assets, they rally because there's nowhere else to put your money, basically, unless you put your money into gold, because you don't want your money in US dollar because it's just devaluing, especially if you're like a long-term holder. So it's a pretty crazy situation right now. So how am I kind of trading this is the question. It's a difficult question, but I do have a fairly strong plan for Bitcoin. So how am I trading this mess from a price action perspective? How am I trading altcoins, right? Because these situations are going to continue to develop, and a lot of this stuff's happening in the background. It's going to influence price action, but price action is still going to be the biggest driver behind decisions, right? Because that tells the story in terms of how the market is anticipating things. So when I look at the Bitcoin chart right now, I'm on the 4-hour right now. If you go into the daily, if you want to zoom out a bit to get a bit of perspective, obviously, we did break through range high. We pumped up to what was like a pretty strong resistance and then rejected off resistance. I said in yesterday's show I wouldn't long into resistance. I said in yesterday's show I'm not longing altcoins. I'm probably glad I didn't. Actually, I wish I shorted. I actually did kind of want to short, but I also didn't want to have short positions opened into FOMC. Kind of dumb to have positions overnight because I'm in Australia. So I didn't decide to short, but I did cut all my longs. I only have one long open for 23K now. And basically, we rejected off the 30K zone. So what we did do is we broke down past this 27.7 level. On the 4-hourly and the daily chart, that was the short-term bullish case that Bitcoin would hold this level and then continue to make a higher high. And that was your bullish case for a push up to the 30K region. That was only really going to happen with a strong FOMC, which we didn't get. It hasn't been a strong day for news. It's been a pretty weak day for news. And thus, Bitcoin price action is very weak. Now, altcoins are even weaker. I'm going to get to them in a second, but Bitcoin does look a bit weak here. So this chart, to me, isn't that encouraging. I do think what happens now, this is just a prediction. Once again, I'm not like a trading expert, but based on my intuition, I think this rolls over, which means maybe a slight more push up to 26.6, this level. And then I think we probably get rejected here and then come back down. That's kind of what I'm seeing. Of course, if we do flip this region and then have a bullish retest, then the market doesn't give a shit. Bitcoin's going to keep running, but I don't think it's an altcoin run. I think it's a Bitcoin run. So for me, the sign to get into alt isn't there yet. If you want my signals and my game plan for alts, watch yesterday's show. In yesterday's show, I gave you my full blueprint for buying alts, my 5-step plan. I won't repeat that today, but we definitely do need to see strength on ETH/BTC. This is not strength. This is weakness because it's actually a bounce into resistance and then a rejection. This probably, to me, indicates that we're going to get a lower low on ETH/BTC. Unless we flip this line, this blue line, which is this key zone for ETH/BTC, I'm not really like super bullish alts. I'm bullish a few select alts that can run against the market. For example, like Arbitrum stuff, I don't think really cares about the market. However, in general, most altcoins are going to, suffer the fate of the general market. So for me, I think Bitcoin likely does have a pullback from this 27.6 zone. It may not happen, obviously just react to price action, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. Then your next support zone is 26.5. This is quite a strong zone. Definitely watch how price reacts here, because if we have a strong bounce, then that is the temporary support level. And those are our local lows, at least on the shorter time frames for, Bitcoin to set up its next move to the upside from. If you start breaking down from this zone and you get a bearish retest, then I think we're definitely going down to 25.2, which is range high. Range high is super strong support, by the way. Super duper strong. So that would be a level I long at for sure. I don't know how interested I am in longing here. In fact, I'm not interested in longing here. I'd be more interested in maybe a short-term scalp short. I'm going to look on that on altcoins. Altcoins are weaker than Bitcoin, so I'm not shorting Bitcoin. Short altcoins, a long Bitcoin. That's the game plan for now. Short alts, long Bitcoin. Or just long Bitcoin. or just don't short Bitcoin, short alts. That's basically what I'm trying to say, because it's weak. Alts are weak. So yes, we definitely could get a pullback from here. Watch how we react in this zone. You probably can flip long if we're showing positive price action around there, although it's not a high probability trade to flip long at 26.5. I'd say 25.2 is the much stronger level to long. So really, we're actually in a new range. You know, it's quite funny. We made this range between 18K and 25K. I think we're making a short-term new range. And I'll show you what that range is. For now, let's get my tool up. It's at 30K, 29K, and 25K. So I think for now, this is actually the new range. I think we're showing signs that we're starting to form this range here. And clearly it's a weaker range than the previous one because it was live for 4 months. This one's only been live for like, a week. But this is kind of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing major resistance at 28 to 29. Then I'm seeing major support at 25.2. Whatever happens in between is noise. I think signs are pointing to us going lower towards the bottom of this zone. But whatever happens in between ultimately is noise. I really don't see the point in longing heavily at 30, up to 30K. Like it's just pretty. It just doesn't look like good risk reward to me to be longing into resistance. Short-term traders can long if we flip this zone and start to show some momentum again. But to me, the shorts look a little bit better than the longs right now. I'll just be honest. Any bounce for me right now is kind of a short, at least today. And that's just my plan. Your plan might be different, at least today until we get more clarity over the market. Someone said alt season in 3, 2, 1. Well, the thing with alt season, bro, is it could still happen. So alt season can happen if Bitcoin starts to consolidate. So if you see Bitcoin consolidation, confidence coming back into the market, and I would love to see consolidation in the 30K zone, then I think altcoins can definitely explode. The thing is, we don't need to preempt it. We don't need to try and time alt season. We just need to wait for ETH BTC to show strength, the alt BTC pairs to show strength, the alt USD pairs in confluence with their BTC pairs to show strength, and then we look at longing alts. It's really that simple. There's no reason to get too finicky with the short-term timing. You don't need to try and predict the alt rotation now. In fact, just wait. Just wait to see how Bitcoin reacts if before going heavier into alts. There's no harm in waiting. You're not going to miss it. You're not going to miss a huge opportunity. If we pump and you miss 5 to 10%, that's fine. At least you're buying into confirmation that the market is shaking off this news. We don't know how the market's reacted to this news today yet. We just don't know. It's stupid to trade based on a trend that hasn't fully formed. We've seen our first signs of a bearish reversal now. So do you want to try and buy the dip here? I wouldn't. I would wait for strength. I would long strength, and I would, if you're a short-term trader, and then I would short weakness. Short-term. Long-term, very different story. You can accumulate your alts, DCA, do what you want, of course. Short-term, that's my plan. I am live every single day, so I think the short-term stuff does become relevant because I can give you regular updates. If I was coming on once a week, then I would probably give you more of a macro update. But I can kind of reassess my bias every day and tell you how I'm feeling for that given day. This scenario that I drew out, I don't think is happening. I just kind of drew that as the bullish scenario. I think, yeah, for now we're showing weakness. Let's see what happens. So if you do want to trade, by the way, I have some good news in case you're feeling a bit down. And by the way, I don't think today is like a super bleak day for crypto. I just think there's, small headwinds. And the market's just a little bit iffy now to be longing. That's just my opinion. I don't think there's, major things to be upset about. And the market can definitely reverse. It's not a super strong trend yet. We're waiting for the trend to form. But I do have some very good news. I don't know if Rand announced this, but if you didn't know, OKX, we've teamed up with them to do a huge month of giveaways. Now, this isn't like any giveaway campaign you've seen before from Crypto Banter, like, where we do the Rolex or where we do like a $10,000 bonus or no. This is huge. So we're giving away a Tesla at the end of the competition, which is in 2 months. So you have 2 months to work your way up towards a Tesla. But every single week or every like week and a half to 2 weeks, we're giving away a new set of prizes. So on March 27th, in fact, that's in 4 days, we're giving away an Apple iPhone 14 Pro, which is a $1,000 phone. Then on April 3rd, a week later, we're giving away a MacBook Pro, which is a $2,300 computer. Then we're giving away 2 Manchester City tickets to the Tunnel Club, which is, how do you even value that? That's absolutely insane. So you're going to get to go to watch City Probably, I mean, lose the title to Arsenal. Sorry, City fans, but at least you'll get to see a Premier League game, which is going to be absolutely insane. I don't know if it's Champions League though. If it's oh no, are they out of Champions League? I don't think they're out of Champions League. But yeah, you can go watch City. I think it's a Premier League game though. And then we have a 7 nights holiday to the Maldives. I mean, this is just insane. Up to $7,500. So loved one can go to the Maldives, which by the way is amazing. I haven't been, but it's amazing. And then we've got a Tesla Model 3, which is almost a $50,000 car plus taxes. So absolutely insane giveaway on OKX. So how do you get involved in this giveaway? Well, sign up to the link in the description using my link. It's the first link in the description. Sign up for a new OKX account. And basically how it works is you get 5 raffle tickets every $10,000 worth of trading volume you accumulate. So it doesn't mean you need to deposit $10,000 or spend $10,000. You need to accumulate $10,000. So if you use leverage, it's going to be much easier to obviously get to the trading volume. But if you just consistently trade as normal on OKX, you should start getting raffle tickets. It's not that hard. Like a $1,000 trade on 10x leverage will get you 5 raffle tickets, for example. That's how the trading volume is calculated. And I'm not, by the way, suggesting any of you use crazy leverage or take on stupid risk to enter the comp. No. Obviously, trade as normal. Don't use this as an excuse to go stupid and wreck yourself. Trade as you normally would. But if you are going to trade, now's the time to do it on OKX because you're going to get some huge prizes. So yeah, link in the description to that. Week 1, so that in 4 days, we're giving away the iPhone. So you've got 4 days time to potentially win that first prize. Every $10,000 is another 5 tickets. If you did $100,000 in trading volume, you would get 50 tickets. And that's, a 10x chance of winning these prizes. And throughout the weeks, based on whoever wins, we're going to be giving away some of these rewards up into a Tesla Model 3. So you'll have chances to win every single week, and we'll be announcing those giveaways on the show. So that's the link in the description if you want to trade on OKX. Sorry for the long shill, but it is a pretty big giveaway, to be honest. So I kind of needed to explain it to kick off the campaign. If it was Man United, you'd be keen. Yeah, 10k trade, I'm broke. Yeah, it's not 10k trade. You can trade with $100 and just build it up. Like it's 10k volume, right? So if you open a trade, close a trade, open, like you're probably going to hit that volume. So it's cumulative volume. It's got nothing. It's not per trade. So you could really trade with small size and easily get raffle tickets easily. Like I think on my account, I've hit like tens of millions of dollars worth of trade volume, and I don't open $1 million trades. It's just, it compounds over time. This is absolutely rubbish, the bad guy. Like, I usually don't respond to comments like this, but you said they don't care about making money off us. It's absolute rubbish. Like, I'm very dedicated to making money for my community. I give opportunities every single day. I really do my best to research and find you alpha in the market. These sponsorships, we purely run them, and we run referral links so we can obviously support the channel to keep things running, because we have producers, we have a lot of costs, and also because we need to make money as well. Let's be honest, like we're creators. We do this as a full-time job. Doing partnerships with companies like OKX and Bybit, it gives you awesome giveaways, but it also gives us the chance to pay ourselves for the hard work that we do to help you make money. So obviously we don't suggest you ever trade recklessly. We obviously never suggest that you trade that you trade with size you wouldn't normally do just to get a giveaway. Obviously be responsible, read the terms and conditions, of course, but if you're going to be trading anyway, you may as well do it on a platform where you can get a giveaway. It's kind of just giving you free money. So it's not making money off you. You're actually getting a benefit. It's a net benefit to the user, which is you as a viewer. It's of course a net benefit to us. We don't shy away from that. We get referral fees, but it's also a net benefit to you. So it's a win-win for both of us. So, I mean, take with it what you will, but I thought I'd mention that. All right, let's do it. Let's do the Arbitrum conversation now, because this is the big conversation. How do you trade the Arbitrum launch? I'm getting a lot of questions. Miles, how are you trading it? When are you buying Arbitrum? Because obviously the airdrop's in 12 hours. So I'm going to do a segment now to explain how I am trading Arbitrum. Someone said, is the ARB token launching today? It is. It's launching in 12 hours. It's going to be absolutely massive. So Arbitrum, clearly one of the most popular networks in crypto, 1.3 million transactions a day. It actually just flipped Ethereum, has gained a lot of steam over a long amount of time. And finally, we have the airdrop happening in 12 hours. It's a huge airdrop. I've done videos on it in the past, so congrats to all those that are getting the airdrop. I know a lot of you watched my airdrop guide and did make money. So for the guy that said you're only interested in making money off us, what about the millions of dollars that our community's made off getting the Arbitrum airdrop or is about to make? So, a lot of you guys are in a very good position. If you didn't get the Arbitrum airdrop, obviously there's going to be more opportunities. I'll be doing another airdrop thread for you guys tomorrow to give you guys like the latest opportunities in the Arbitrum ecosystem and in other ecosystems, because I think Arbitrum is definitely the first big one. We had Aptos last year, we've had Optimism, we've had Uniswap, but there's going to be more. ZK Sync's clearly one, Layer0 is clearly one, but there are also some ones not as many people are talking about. So I'll be bringing you guys that tomorrow in the form of a thread. So there will be more if you missed it. Sorry if you missed it, but there's also opportunities to trade Arbitrum. I think if you're a savvy trader, and once again, I wouldn't trade the Arbitrum token with a lot of capital. I'd really only put up money I'm willing to risk because it's quite volatile. You're about to see, based on the price models that I'm going to show you, the price is likely to be quite volatile. But I would definitely, keep my eye on this Arbitrum token over the next few days, because if it comes in super low or comes in super high, there'll be short or long opportunities either way. So it's going to be $1 billion airdrop based on the current expectation of the ARB token. What we're seeing on BitMEX is ARB futures trading at 1.4, about $1.40. If we look at the Arbitrum OTC desk, so these are people that are coming up with deals prior to the airdrop, we're seeing the majority of Arbitrum is settling around this $1.50 range. It was $1. It's bumped all the way to $2 now. So I'd say like it's around $1.50 to $2 OTC if you want to buy pre-airdrop. And if you compare it to Optimism, 1.2 to 1.3 is fair value based on the Optimism TVL. So all those data points factoring in, I think we're going to see between $1.30 to $1.70 Arbitrum tomorrow or in 12 hours. However, I still think it could go a lot higher because the precedent that's been set by these previous airdrops suggests that they could launch a lot higher. For example, when Optimism first launched, it had a huge pump up to $2 before it settled at $1.20, had a huge dump, and then pumped again. Aptos had a huge pump when it first launched, went all the way up to like $50, $60. It was crazy. Dipped all the way down to 90 cents, pumped to 9.8, dumped, and then pumped again to 18. Blur had a huge pump when it first launched, dumped all the way back down basically instantly, had a pump, had a dip, and then had a pump again. Doesn't look like a pump, but it actually was a 65% move. So every single airdrop so far, and Arbitrum could be different, but so far, has followed this pattern of pumping, dumping, then pumping again. Pumping, dumping, pumping again. Pumping, dumping, pumping again. So for us as investors or traders, the ideal scenario would obviously be shorting. I mean, okay, if you're a complete expert, then shorting, buying back, shorting, buying back. Shorting, buying back, shorting, buying back. That might be a little bit hard. It might just be better to buy, sell, buy, sell. That might be easier if it does follow the previous patterns. Now, obviously, those previous patterns are, you have this major pump upon launch. Then you have a gradual sell-off as recipients sell. This selling is usually more gradual and slow, and that's fueled by people selling off their airdrop as they receive it. Once the sellers are exhausted, then typically you'll see price pumps post-exhaustion. And this will be when people get back in to the Arbitrum token. Maybe even sellers that FOMO back in, and then you get this explosive secondary move to the upside. Once again, we see price pumping and then wicking back down, and then a gradual sell-off. The buyers here make money. The price pumps, people FOMO back in, and then you make a secondary top. It's basically the same every single time. Blur didn't get really its second pump. So Blur didn't do something like this yet. It still could, but it still had a 65% move. So traders still had an opportunity to get in here and ride that next wave up and then get out again. So, you could have bought, sold, or you could even, and selling and shorting is the same thing. So leverage traders would have shorted and then longed and then shorted and then closed. So that basically every single airdrop follows the same pattern. Will Arbitrum follow this pattern? I think it will. The issue is, though, even if it follows the pattern, it doesn't make it easy to trade. because all of these airdrops are still different time frames. Like, look at this. This took 4 days before it dumped, whereas Aptos took 7 days and Blur took 7 days as well. So you don't know the exact day. So the problem is, if you're using leverage, if you're using like 10x leverage, you could easily get the timing wrong by a couple days and still get stopped out, even if you're right to short, or even if you're right to long. So I would suggest, if anyone's trading the Aptos token, and of course this video is not financial advice, you have to work out how you want to trade based on your own risk tolerance. I would suggest using very low leverage. Don't go super crazy unless you're a really confident trader. If you're a really experienced trader, I don't see the problem with using higher leverage if you know what you're doing, but just be aware of your skill level. If you're not at the skill level to be able to pick these bottoms and tops, or attempt to, don't. And if you do it with gambling money. Do it with money you're willing to lose, because this is a bit of a lottery, this trade. It could be a very profitable lottery, but it's a lottery nonetheless. You know, just like when you go to the casino and put money on the number 32, if 32 wins, it's going to pay out the most because you picked a single number, but it's also risky because your odds of winning are much lower. That's kind of how high leverage trading in volatile environments is. It is a bit of a gamble. So I think it's worth paying attention to, because there is a chance to make money. But if you're going to trade, just consider your leverage and don't be too stupid, because even if we know what's going to happen, because I think it will follow a similar pattern. Even if we know it's going to happen, the time frame is where you get wrecked, because these wicks are where you get wrecked. You see these wicks to the upside, these wicks to the downside. So even if you're right, you could still get wrecked. So if you're willing to do this spot trading, I think you'll do a lot better. Or it's just low leverage, like 2 or 3x, 4x. You're going to do probably a lot better than the people that use 10 to 20x and go crazy. But of course, you have to make your own decisions based on your own risk tolerance. So I'm getting a lot of questions as well. Where can I trade Arbitrum once it launches? There's a couple places. So the centralized exchanges have listings. So Bybit has a listing, and they're actually doing a giveaway. So it's a $400,000 USDT prize pool, to people that trade the Arbitrum token. If you deposit 250 Arbitrum, you earn 25 USDT and unlock a prize pool. So the more you trade Arbitrum on Bybit, the more you could potentially win through their prize pool. So Bybit will be one of the first listings. I think Binance as well, probably KuCoin and OKX as well. Bybit does have the trade to earn kind of thing though. Or at least like the prizes going. So if you are going to trade, I think Bybit's probably the best place to do it. That's their spot pair. And I think their leverage pair will be launching after their spot pair. So it'll probably be spot first, then leverage. So there's a link in the description to Bybit if you want to trade the ARB token when it launches. And we also have a $30,000 deposit bonus for new signups. OKX as well. Obviously, we've got the major giveaway running at the moment. OKX as well does have a listing similar to Bybit. They'll be launching spot first as step number 2. And then step number 3 will be them listing the ARB USDT perps trading. So if you do want to trade Arbitrum as well, you could do so on OKX. And whilst you're trading Arbitrum, you'd be working towards the iPhone giveaway and then ultimately the Tesla giveaway through OKX. So it really depends what you prefer trading on. If you want to go for the Bybit prize pool, if you want to go for the OKX giveaway, depends what you personally prefer. But basically whatever one has it first is where I trade. I do think both of them will list at similar times. I think OKX says 4 a.m. UTC and Bybit says, what's this? 4 a.m. UTC on March. Oh, no, that's deposits. Deposit meets, okay, so it'll take a couple of hours for deposits to meet the standard. Deposits on Bybit open so they're already open now, and trading will start at 1 p.m. So just pay attention to which one launches first, but there's a link in the description to both if you do want to trade it. Let's see what the question is. Someone said sound is fine. I think sound's fine. I think we sound good. People say they can hear me. What about magic? All right, this is also interesting. The question of how's the ecosystem going to affect how are the incentives going to affect the ecosystem? Because it's not just like the Arbitrum token is launching and that's that. A lot of ecosystem tokens, a lot of DAOs are actually receiving Arbitrum tokens as incentives. And what that means is they're going to be able to juice up their APRs, and that will incentivize people to enter a lot of these projects. So a lot of them have run up pre-Arbitrum. However, there still could be room for some of these to grow. So I hope GMX and Gains Network get the ARB token ASAP through their oracles, because it's going to be potentially a huge volume spike and a huge fee spike for the perp dexes, Vela as well, if they can get the listings. Nonetheless, they're still getting big airdrops. They're getting 8 million GMX. TreasureDAO Magic's getting 8 million. Uniswap's getting 4.3, but it's a bigger project. 𝗏𝗄𝗃 and Radiant are probably the next two biggest recipients. So if we look on CoinGecko and we look at Magic, TreasureDAO, I'll just search up TreasureDAO. I'm just going to search up Magic, which is what I was originally going to do. There we go. Not even listed as TreasureDAO. It's actually down. It's down at $1.80. I'm interested in this one. I think it could be a decent performer. The only thing is you are buying pre-airdrop. That's a tough decision, because if it is buy the rumor, sell the news, this is like a typical FOMO buy this. But I still think it has room to run. So I'm kind of torn. I might put a little bit of money in, but not much, because I'm wary of buy the rumor, sell the news. But at the same time, they're getting a big allocation. And I think the Arbitrum ecosystem will get some sort of liquidity injection from the airdrop. Whether or not it's priced in is another question. I'm pretty torn on it. So the fact that I'm torn suggests to me I won't go in with size. I do already have exposure. I have exposure through, I have some 𝗏𝗃𝗃s. I have some Gains Network. That's my exposure for now. I don't have Magic. I'd like Magic. I don't have Radiant. It has pumped a lot. I probably wouldn't buy Radiant. So there's a few options to position yourself. I assume a lot of you have already done it. If you haven't done it by now, just be wary. I wouldn't ape in the day before the airdrop. Uniswap, interestingly, will probably be the DEX that gets the first liquidity. Well, it will get the first liquidity. So if you are receiving an ARB airdrop and you want to trade out or into Arbitrum, but you don't want to bridge off to Bybit or OKX, you can do it on a DEX. You can do it on KyberSwap. Just make sure you're on the Arbitrum network, and then you'll be able to literally enter in the ARB token. It's already here, by the way. Let's say, you want to swap out of ARB, you received ARB, and you want to go into USDC or USDT, probably after the USDC FUD. Then it will swap through 1 inch, or it'll swap through Uniswap once liquidity is there. The Arbitrum token right now is listed, but the prices are crazy. So don't trade it until there's liquidity. The liquidity is nothing right now. So wait for the airdrop, and then you can probably trade it through Uniswap. That's if you're on a DEX. Obviously, for the centralized guys, OKX and Bybit are probably the places to do it. Radiant tanked. Someone said Radiant also pulled back to the golden pocket. And let's chart this real quick. Radiant's a good project. However, it just has pumped a lot. So they have an OKX listing, but I wonder how much price data it has. Nothing. Because all of these will be new listings, right? You probably need to go like on the ETH pair to get any sort of yeah, so I'm gonna have to use the ETH pair. That's where the liquidity is. I'd love to use the US dollar pair though. Is it on BitGet? Well, there's some sort of trend forming. It doesn't have enough price data for me to have like a really good get a really good level. But yeah, if you were gonna buy Radiant, I think this zone for sure is your zone. It actually did go into this zone actually already. So I would look at that as kind of a buy zone for Radiant, if you did want to buy it. But that's still yeah, there could be a sell the news scenario where the Arbitrum tokens drop on launch, and then you see like a strong bounce as some of the incentives start to kick in. That could happen. It could be a buy the news situation where, you know, people are selling the news, then you want to scoop in, buy the ones with incentives. Someone said you love this channel. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support, 𝗏𝗃𝗫𝗄𝗽 as well. Someone said your chart colors or lack of it are strange. I switched my charts to black and white just because I know a lot of you prefer dark mode, and a lot of people are saying go back to dark mode. I prefer it, man. I prefer this. I don't know. It's clean. Also, it's psychological, right? But the black candles aren't as scary as the red. Those big red candles, I don't know. Emotionally, I feel like I'm a better trader on black and white for some weird reason. Like I just feel like the red is like scary and the green's euphoric, whereas black and white, it's like less intimidating. A huge big black candle doesn't scare me as much as a big red candle. That sounds so wrong if you wanna make a joke out of that. Oh dear. There's another Radiant RXD. Made myself laugh. That's hilarious. A big black candle doesn't scare me as much as a huge white candle. No, that's even worse. That's way worse. Sol is not pumping. Let's have a look at Sol. As I said in yesterday's show, like this is not the time to be max longing alts. You probably want to wait for obviously Sol BTC to reverse as well as the Sol USD pair. So obviously, a flip of the I mean, to be fair, it's on the 4 hourly. I think the daily is probably the better time frame. So you want to see a break of this trend. It could happen soon. It could happen. You kind of have two levels. You've got the 200 MA on the daily and you've got the diagonal. Still haven't broken. A few fake outs every single time we pull back in. So I want to see a daily close for Sol. I'm not going to trade a 4 hourly close because every time it just gets faked out. Look at this. Every time it gets faked out. So the daily is really the only indicator for me for Sol. I didn't know the show was X-rated. Someone said we'll need to short Sol. Sol was a great short below here, but I don't know if now it's a good short. It's like 7%. Can Sol go to $10 again? Please respond. Well, you got an instant response, bro, and I think it can. Let me just do a bit of more macro TA for you. Based on like some key levels. Obviously, you've got this level here. And then doesn't really line up with anything. It kind of lines up. Nah, it's the initial run up was very strong. I'd say you've got. Yeah, I definitely think it can hit $10 again. In fact, this looks terrible. Unless we get that breakout, this looks terrible. Like, look at this. Lower high, lower high, lower high. It looks bad. But don't panic, because if there's a daily breakout, it all starts to change. But for now, it doesn't look like it wants to change. What's your signal to get out of Sol if you're in Sol? Your signal to get out of Sol or short Sol would be the breakdown of this wedge. So let me clear up these red scribbles. The breakdown of this wedge for me, so the rejection, again, you could probably short it. And then if we start to break down here, then that would be my short signal. And that might happen at $19. So that won't be a devastating scenario for you if you wait for a breakout to the downside. If it gets rejected, then you can, cut. First re-entry would be around this level at $15.90 to $16. And then obviously your next zones are $8 to $10. We don't go down, we go up only. Well, I hope so. I hope Sol breaks out. I still have some long-term spot Sol. I'd love to, I'd love to see that in the green again. So, yeah, I'd love a breakout here. I'm just being realistic about what we can see. And I'll definitely, flip short if we get a breakout of the wedge. On KyberSwap, ARB price is coming up at 17 cents. I mean, if it is, take that trade, bro. But slippage might kill you. For me, it's still coming as 123. It's only going to be on the Arbitrum network. But what if it's into, let's go USDC. Showing me $100. So it's obvious there's obviously no liquidity. So I wouldn't swap it. But on BitMEX, it's showing $1.30. Banter's the best channel on the web. Appreciate it, Joby. Appreciate it. Let's see if there's any updates on this FOMC Yellen / Coinbase stuff, because a lot happened overnight. Actually, a lot happened overnight. So let's see. Lady of Crypto did a 1K portfolio. Can I be completely honest with you? It depends what your goals are, right? But if you have 1K, if you only have $1,000, I don't know what country you're in, but if you only have $1,000 to invest in crypto, this is too safe, in my opinion. You're not going to make fuck all money with this, because, I mean, maybe that's the wrong approach, but this is too safe. Like, $1,000 is not enough to be in Bitcoin and ETH. So the caveat to that is if you're in a lower socioeconomic country where $1,000 is a lot of money, for example, Africa, maybe some East Asian countries, then obviously try and protect capital. But at least for me, I don't see $1,000 as capital preservation. I see $1,000 as risk on. If you only have $1,000 to invest, don't build a portfolio. Don't long-term invest, all right? This is what I would do. I would airdrop, farm, airdrops on-chain. I would degen on-chain, because that $1,000 should be your tuition. That $1,000 should teach you the ropes of learning to use DeFi. That $1,000 could set up an entire like wealth of knowledge for you in the DeFi space. You'll be able to bridge on-chain. You'll be able to trade on-chain. You'll be able to go for different airdrops, right? One shitty airdrop will make you $1,000. Arbitrum would have made you $1,000, right? For example. And you wouldn't have gotten Arbitrum if you bought Bitcoin and ETH. You wouldn't have got, you only would have got that through degenning and having fun on chain. So I understand where she's coming from, but $1,000 for most people, it's just not enough. You can't make money with $1,000 unless you use that to really learn and go risk on. So obviously the caveat being based on the country you're in. I would even make the same argument for 10,000. Unless your goal is to make 100,000. If your goal is to make 100,000, yeah, you can probably put it into ETH and wait 10 years. If your goal is to make 100,000, but if your goal is to make $1 million of 10K, depends what your goal is. If you genuinely want to make $1 million, you're not going to be able to invest in something like this and make $1 million with 10K. You probably can't make $1 million with 200K in this, like, let alone 10. So the thing is, if you don't have a lot of money, the portfolio approach is not for you. For me, like, of course, I hold the majority of my portfolio in Bitcoin, because I'm protecting capital. I'm at the point where I've got money I need to preserve now. And once you reach the point where you're trying to preserve capital, then you enter Bitcoin, you enter ETH, you go more defensive. And then 10K becomes play money on chain. You might open a 10K degen trade for a bit of fun once you get to that stage. But for the majority of listeners, you're probably not at that stage. And the majority of Lady of Crypto's followers probably aren't at that stage. I don't know if this is good advice. Just being frank with you. And I respect her content. Some's bad, some's good. I'm not even talking about her. I'm just analyzing the content. Anyone could have posted this. But, I think it's cool that she's doing, that she's trying to help people with portfolios. Let's also have a look at some of her higher splits. She's going 5K portfolio. Still too fucking safe. With only $5,000, you're going to want to degen on chain. 10,000, still too fucking safe. 15% in Bitcoin. I don't know. It depends. If 10,000 is a lot of money to you, then yeah, you could put half in Bitcoin and ETH. But maybe I'm just in a bubble, but I just still feel like if you're really trying to get rich with 10K, it's going to be hard to do it in Bitcoin and ETH. And I would just trade on chain, and I would get involved with projects. I would go into project Discords. I would speak to people. I would get into degen farms. I would try and go for airdrops. You can literally make 10,000 a year airdrop hunting quicker than you'll make $10,000 off a portfolio like that. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. I'm just being honest. If you don't have a lot of money, you gotta degen. You gotta learn ways to make money. You have to focus on income and not on investing. Too many people with $1,000 portfolios, they try and invest. Oh, Miles, how do I invest to make $1 million? The truth is, you're not going to invest to make $1 million. You need to find ways to keep capital coming in. Then you're going to make your million, because you have inflows that you can invest. How do you make inflows? Well, there's many ways in crypto, but to start with, you got to start to become a bit of a degen. You have to airdrop farm. You have to look through. You have to be in Discords. You have to be part of communities. You have to be going for smaller cap projects. You're not going to become a millionaire DCAing with $1,000 into Bitcoin and ETH. Yeah, and Karen, you got an Arbitrum airdrop. Karen, if I recall, you said you had a $5,000 airdrop to Arbitrum from following my thread/video. 5,000. Arbitrum is going to be worth over $6,000. It may be worth $10,000 to $20,000 tomorrow, and if you're lucky, it may be worth closer to $50,000 if the price spikes up. I think it'll be closer to 10K. So you have made $10,000 off one airdrop, and you've probably spent less than $1,000 to get there. One airdrop. You made that entire portfolio I just showed you in one airdrop. It's like, where's the risk reward in investing when you can earn that much money with that little capital on chain? On chain is where you make that initial $50,000. Once you make your initial $50,000 to $100,000, then you start going, all right, I got to protect it. I'm going to buy Bitcoin. I'm going to buy 3 or 4 Ethereum. Sure, 100%. If you have 50,000 plus, I think it starts to become more of a conversation of how do I preserve it. But if you're playing with 3, 4, 5K, I mean, unless you really care about that 3 or 4K, of course, some people might really care about it. That's up to you. Unless you really care about 3 or 4K, then you're probably just better off farming and degen farming and airdrop hunting and stuff. You got 30K with DYDX, 100%. I mean, that's amazing. That's huge. That's massive. These airdrops are huge. I'm doing a thread tomorrow, so make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link in the description to follow me on Twitter. I'm doing an airdrop thread. It's going to be my full guide on how to farm. Firstly, the top 10 airdrops I'm looking for, and then the day after, how to actually farm airdrops. But it's clear that, and GCR said it. So if you don't believe me, leave GCR. Come on. Come on, where is he? Come on. Give me the tweet. Here we go. Twitter search sucks. GCR. Basically one of the most legendary crypto investors ever. He's worth almost, I think, probably $1 billion. He trades with ridiculous size. Well, maybe he's worth a few hundred mil, but he trades with millions of dollars, right? This guy's huge. He said it's been repeated on CT for years and is some of the most obvious advice. But for those of you who haven't digested it yet, if you don't have much cash and are looking to get capitalized, there's no greater opportunity in this world than farming airdrops can really change your life. It's not really something I know much about since I've never been an on-chain guy, but if you're just starting out, get in some Discord or Telegram chats with other people on the grind, and I'm sure they discuss their airdrop strategies pretty openly. So if you don't believe me, GCR literally said it is the biggest opportunity in crypto to change your life. He's right. If you're only investing $1,000, stop focusing on whether you buy Bitcoin or ETH and just focus on degenning in Discords and degenning on chain. That the amount, even if you lose all that $1,000, right? If it all goes to shit and you fuck up and you bridge it to the wrong wallet and you lose it all, what you've learnt through the process of degenning on chain will be 10 times more than sitting on your Binance and investing into DCAing into Bitcoin ETH. You learn nothing through that. You learn nothing through investing, to be honest with you. It's very passive. It's a very passive game. You learn the most through degenning. I learned everything in crypto through DeFi. And then when I stopped doing DeFi for probably a period of 4 or 5 months, I stopped learning. And then that's why so recently I've started doing a lot more of it again, because I don't know, it's just such a good way to keep your knowledge of crypto ticking and seeing how things are working and seeing what's being developed. You're only going to do that in the Discords too. You're not going to do that in I don't know. You're not going to do that on your Binance account. That's for sure. Some real bad advice this is. I mean, bro, tell me right now 3 reasons why it's bad advice. If you have $1,000, how is there a better thing to do than airdrop farming? How? I would love to know. I would love to know. Investing can great. Okay, we forgot the word B. Investing can be freaking brilliant. It depends on goals. This isn't saying you shouldn't invest. In fact, if you fuck. Oh, it's so frustrating to even talk about because it's just so obvious. Investing is fantastic. Obviously, I invest, but I'm talking not to the average person. I'm talking to the people with no money that are trying to make millions off investing. If you are trying to make millions off $1,000 investing, you're not going to do it. You're better off investing in your education on chain. That's what I'm saying. The more money you have, the more credible investing becomes. If you have $100,000, if you have $50,000, $40,000, obviously investing is way more important than the guy that has $500. For the guy that has $500, even if he nails a 10x, he makes $5,000. If that's life-changing money to you, by all means, invest. Make your $5,000. But I know most of you aren't interested in $5,000. Most of you are interested in life-changing money. So if you want to hear about how to make life-changing money, I'm just giving you the truth. Like, Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't going to make you millions of dollars. They're not, unless you have probably close to 6 figures in cash. The Banter has a Discord in the description. So join that, obviously. But I think joining individual project Discords is where you get the real alpha. And create folders. Like, if you're going for airdrops, create folders. So have a folder for 𝗬𝗍𝗫, have a folder for Layer 0, have a folder for ZK Sync, have a folder for Celestia and Fuel and all the, like, have folders so you stay up to date. Because projects update through the Discords more readily than they do on Twitter. Small capital needs a source of income. Yeah, if you're investing 1,000 and that's it, and you're not trying to add to it, forget about it. You need to add to it. I know I'm being extremely blunt in today's video, but I don't know. I just feel like a bit of honesty is needed, because there seems to be some delusion that you can turn 1,000 into $1 million in crypto very easily. You can do it. It's possible, but it's a lot more possible on chain than off chain. Investing in ETH and Bitcoin and Sol and Matic, that's not making you $1 million. Getting a $30,000 𝗙𝗿𝗍𝗶𝗿 airdrop and then using those funds to diversify into different ecosystems and then investing some as a capital preservation tool, that's going to help you get to $1 million. Someone said repeat the process from 500 to 5K then again. How about they repeat the process for 500 to 5K then again? So 10x, 10x, 10x. The problem with this is, how many cycles do you need to 10x? $500 to 5K. All right, let's say that's one cycle. Okay, let's say that's half a cycle on average. Let's say you can actually 20x in a cycle and you time it perfectly. So, okay, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So you go 500 to 10K in one cycle. Then in the next cycle, you go 10K to 200K. And then it's that third cycle where you go from 200K to $1 million. But how many chances do you think we have left, guys? I personally don't think we have that many cycles left. I think maybe one more big bull run and then things just kind of, and then the opportunities dissipate. I don't think opportunities in crypto are around forever. In fact, I think you've got a 2-year time frame on a lot of this stuff. Token incentives, the current airdrop model, that won't be around forever either. This isn't just like you've got bundles of time. There's actually a lot of time pressure on crypto right now. Like, just being honest, you really got to learn your shit soon or it's going to be too late. Honestly. So, I don't know. Yeah, you can turn 500 into 5K in a cycle, 100% easily. But doing that 5 or 6 times during one cycle is extremely hard. $1,000 should be your goal, then reassess your goal. If your goal is to make $1,000, disregard everything I've said. Invest and make $1,000. I just know that most of you don't want to make a lot more than that. So I'm speaking to the people that don't just want to make 1,000 and want to make 6 figures plus. But if your goal is to genuinely make 5,000, that is 100% valid. Everything you do should be working towards your goal. The bigger your goal, the more risk you're going to have to take on. That's the reality if you don't have the capital. If you have a small goal and you want to achieve that goal, go for it. Everything you do should be in line with what you want to make. Everything. You have months, not years. Yeah, probably. I don't think we have that long. I'd say 2 years. What do we do, Master Miles? Well, it really depends based on your portfolio size. So I can't give a suggestion to someone, in general, because some of you have $1 million, some of you have 100,000, some of you have $100, some of you have 10,000, some of you have 5,000. You all have different amounts of money, so it's difficult. And you all have different goals. And you're all, like, if you don't have a family and you're like me and you're 22 and you can literally put $100,000 on a trade and lose it and be fine and nothing happens and there's no repercussions, then you can take on a lot more risk. Like, I'm aware I could probably take on a lot more risk because I don't have a family, I don't have a wife, I don't have kids. Like, I could technically lose everything, and my skill sets, like my ability to write, speak, my mathematical skills, like all my skills would enable me to get another job, a high paying job, and I wouldn't have to worry. So for me, I could take on more risk, right? I'm just using myself as an example. For you, you might have a family, and obviously then you can't take on the same amount of risk. So I can't really speak to everyone. I can just speak to what I know. And how I would generalize it is, if you have less than $10,000, I would focus primarily on-chain. So as I just said, Discords, airdrops, incentives, ecosystem, DeFi opportunities. If you have less, once you start making more than that, once you start making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 plus, and that starts to become a lot of money for you, then you start siphoning profits back off chain. This is a great strategy to help you guys that are confused, all right? Have 2 wallets. I obviously recommend having 5 or 6 wallets, but, let's just simplify it by saying, have 2 wallets. Have one on-chain, right? Your on-chain wallet is your risky money. This is the money you're willing to lose. This is the money you use to farm airdrops. This is the money you use to enter DeFi protocols and mess around on chain and buy shitcoins and all that stuff, all right? And then you have an off-chain fund. Maybe this is a centralized exchange like a Bybit. Maybe this is your bank account. But you have 2 wallets. You have one on-chain and you have one off-chain. Your on-chain wallet degens, and this is where all your learning happens. Your on-chain wallet is where you learn everything and where you take on more risk, where you make money, try to make money. Now, when you do make money on that on-chain wallet, let's say you get a big airdrop, let's say you hit a 10x, etc. You find some alpha, it makes you a 20x, you take profits. You take that profit, some of it, not all of it, because you want to compound wealth, but some of it, let's say 50%, back into your off-chain. And in the off-chain, that's your portfolio. So in that portfolio, you have stables, maybe you have some Bitcoin ETH, maybe you have your Solana and Matic and that stuff you like long-term. I love investing. Don't get me wrong. I think investing's great. I never said I hated investing. It just depends on how much money you have. Have that off-chain portfolio, right? And have your on-chain. So every time you make profits on-chain, scrape it. Set an amount. Is it 20, 30%? Is it 40% of your profits? Is it 50%? Pick an amount and scrape those profits back into your off-chain. And then your off-chain is treated differently. You might have a 3-year time horizon in your off-chain wallet. And your off-chain wallet might have Bitcoin, ETH, US dollars, and Matic. Or it might be more risky. It might be Bitcoin, ETH, and freaking, I don't know, it might have a bunch of shitcoins in there. That's fine, but just make that distinction between active capital and long-term capital. That way, you're constantly topping up your off-chain with your on-chain. And that's exactly what I've done. My setup's more complex because I probably have 30 wallets because I have to protect myself. So I have 30 wallets and I have probably like 5 off-chain wallets and 6 exchange accounts, right? For you, maybe it's as simple as just having 1 and 1, but the principle is the exact same. You scrape on-chain, you put it off-chain, you invest off-chain. That's how I do it. You can also invest on-chain. I just use the off-chain example as an easy way to help you contextualize it. Not your keys, not your coins as well, right? So if you want to hold on-chain, you can have another MetaMask, which is called off-chain, or call it savings or whatever, and that's your investment account. So have an active hot wallet and then have an investment account. So you can still have it on-chain. I just have it off-chain. It depends on what you want to do. And that's how I would do it. New subscriber, welcome to the channel. Also put on post notifications so you stay updated. And there's ways to trade off-chain and there's places to trade off-chain. Obviously, your exchanges, OKX, Bybit, etc. Off-chain. But on-chain, you've got Gains Network, Apex. There's links in the description to both of those as well. These are going to be your ways to trade on-chain. So if you have a hot wallet and you want to open a Bitcoin trade, you can simply just go to Apex and trade Bitcoin or ETH on your wallet. Like, I'll literally connect my wallet right now, my MetaMask, and I'll enter. And you can see I'm up on this Bitcoin trade. You can literally trade on-chain on something like Apex, a decentralized order book. and keep it on your MetaMask wallet. And you can do the same with gains. Difference is you might get more pairs. You have Forex, you have stocks. You can still trade on chain, right? Through a network like Gains or Apex. They're both in the description as well. But what I'm trying to get the point across is this opportunities both on and off chain. Should I do if my coin wasn't a security, I'd love to do a coin. Be fun. Be fun as I'd put like, just hypothetically, it would obviously be a security and I could never do it, but it'd be awesome if I could do a coin and then pay back like a percentage of my YouTube rev back to the audience. So you could invest in the coin, and the better the more views the video does, the more ad rev we make, the more like referral link rev we make, the more you guys make, and the more the token goes up, or the NFT. That'd be so cool. Obviously we couldn't do it, but that'd be really cool. Then like everyone would be incentivized to pump up the videos and share the videos, because the more the videos get views, the more the holders of the token make. I would love to do it. I wonder if there's a way to do it legally. That'd be so cool. Like putting like 30, 40% of the video, 50% even of the video rev back into the coin treasury. And then the holders can stake and make money. That'd be freaking sick. So like if there's a bull market and Crypto Banter moons in revenue through ads and referral links, then the holders also get a chance to get upside to the business. It'd be awesome. It's just security laws, man. It'd be too hard to do. Maybe in other countries, but in the US, man, that's scream security. But that would be freaking cool. So I'd love to do that. That's called Andrew Tate's Hustlers Universe. I don't know what his model is, but the problem with tokens is like securities laws. I wonder if there's a way to do it not on a token. Like if there's a way to legally do it. I'm sure there's a way to legally do it. But I don't know. We had this idea at Banter, like I think last year we talked about seriously doing an NFT and doing something like a profit split. But then we just were speaking to lawyers and we realized like it would just be an uphill battle. But at some point we'll try and do something. We really want a token. It'd be so cool. It's just legalities and and it wouldn't be for us to make money. So it would purely be for the community to make money if we ever do a token. It wouldn't be something, we do it to raise capital. It would be more so to like give the community upside too. I mean, you get upside through our alpha, by the way, and our giveaways. So you do get upside, but it'd be cool to have that direct upside too. DAOs have tried it. Yeah, I still don't think we've finally hit this like final DAO endgame model yet. I think there's still a lot of ironing out to do with the DAO model. Miles Deutscher. All right, well, I think that's it for now. Let's just check Bitcoin firstly. It is doing the exact same thing. Let's just check it out. Why don't my levels come up on this chart? Okay, it's because they're on Bitstamp. Tempted to short into this pocket. Tempted to do it. But if I shorter, I would short alts. I wouldn't short BTC. And it would also probably have a pretty tight stop. Is there any really weak alts, guys, with Confluence? With Confluence on the BTC chart. For example, NIA is performing shit. Let's try and find something really quick with Confluence. Really quick. So this is NIA. Where's the daily MA? I love it. Fuck, NIA's a great short. It's dead. It's dead coin. Price action wise. So that's just wishful thinking though, drawing the line there. In reality, it's probably somewhere higher. Don't love it. It's already it's not really like an amazing trend for me there. What else do we have? Let's just go through a bunch of alts. See if there's any short setups. Solana, kinda, yeah. Maybe if we get a push up into this pocket. That could correspond with this Bitcoin push. Just don't know how much strength alts have. Well, I can tell you right now, not much. PYR too strong. Gala, IMX been a big sell-off post announcement. Yeah, that's a clear trend. If IMX somehow gets back up to 120. Joe's pumped a lot, but I wouldn't short Joe. It's pumped. It's pretty strong. Optimism. Nah, Arbitrum narrative too risky. What about like XRP? Nah, that's pumping on news of the SEC regs. ADA. Low-key looks bullish. Low-key looks bullish, so I wouldn't short ADA. Could someone tell me in the comments a great coin to short? Please. Because if Bitcoin gets this push up, I don't want to short Bitcoin. I just don't think it's a good short. I'd rather go into alts. Someone says Gala. I'm not looking at longing today. I'm sorry. Unless we flip. If we flip, I might look at a long, but just, don't feel like longing. I don't know. I feel like shorting today. But just a feeling to it. This PA. Yeah, Gala looks horrible. Gala at 4.3. Let's hope we get a dead cat bounce on some of these. Someone said XRP still goes down. So Gala here could definitely where are my levels? Yeah, that's a really strong range too. This line's super strong. Let me make it clearer. I'll make it not yellow, like pink. Yeah, man, that's a great zone. I'd only short though. You have to keep in mind. So what percentage away are we? Like 7%. That the problem is Bitcoin's gonna roll over. It won't get there. I need something closer. It won't get there. It may in a couple days. Someone says short 𝗙𝗍𝗃. Is this a stable coin? Is this a stable coin? Look at the price on that thing. Yeah, 𝗙𝗍𝗃 looks horrible. 𝗙𝗍𝗃 looks horrible. A lot of alts look bad. I'm not going to lie to you. A lot of alts look shocking. I hate the red. I like the blue. Possibly I'd short 𝗙𝗍𝗃 there. See this range over the past few weeks, ever since like the beginning of March, just every time rejected at this 200 MA. 100% short. Phantom. I wouldn't short Phantom. It's a strong man. Phantom's one of the strongest alts. And it bounced above the 200 MA too. Perfectly. Matic. I know Trader SZ and XO love shorting Matic. Yeah, this looks horrible. By the way, when I say it looks horrible, I don't mean like it's like a reason to panic. I more mean short term, right? Why? Why am I saying that? We could see this double top, right? Double top, failure to make a new high, another failure. Then if you come and make a new low here, it's kind of suggesting it wants to go sub $1 again. So that's the reason why I say it looks horrible, just because of this trend. If you zoom out, if you look on the daily, it starts to look a bit better. It starts to look a bit better because you can make the argument, this is a higher low than this. But I just think on the shorter time frames, it doesn't look that good. I would probably even trade on the hourly chart, to be honest. Yeah, so this zone for Matic, this could be a short for sure. I just don't know if alts get there. Alts are looking so weak. I don't even know if Bitcoin rolls over here. I don't know if they bounce. That's the problem. Matic is, super weak, super weak. Short Link. Link looked okay the other day. Yeah, look, this looks too good. See this? Beautiful trend for Link. Now, if we do break below, though, then you do have price targets here. So I agree with you, actually. If Link breaks down, I'll consider it. Mask could be a nice short. So, just the price action on this is too... Okay, sure. If it pumps into this range, then sure. But it just looks too volatile. Injective. I don't think Link will break down either. Yet. Not yet. Still looks pretty strong. I'd be picky with my injective entry. To be honest, though, if injective makes a lower high here, so look at this, right? On the hourly. That's the high. That's the lower high. Technically, that's a lower high. We actually don't want it breaking back into this blue box. This would be the furthest it could go for me. So that would be a place to short, or this level. It may break down sooner. And then that would be another lower high. See? Then I would short. If it starts breaking above, then cancel. Invalidate. Stop loss there. Stop loss there. Always trade with a stop loss. Always put your stop loss in. Someone said 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗍 not looking great. Oh, wow. This looks awful. This looks awful. What does this thing even do? Because it looks horrible. Yeah, I would short that. But so the only issue I have with shorting it is we've already seen that huge runoff of 40%. Like, you're kind of not getting that great entry. By the way, with all the shorting talk, like, it's the only reason I would short, but is based on Bitcoin, right? It's not based on alt. So it's if Bitcoin doesn't manage to break, we get that rejection back down, and then I would cut some at 26.5. I would cut some. I would leave some, and then I would readjust. So if we do come down, I would reset my stop to here, somewhere in this region. I would cut half there. I would then change my stop. So if we do come up, whatever, stops, I still make 50% of my profits, but I would leave half in case we do get that push down to range high. That's what I'm doing, if that makes sense. It's all based on Bitcoin. It's not based on alts. 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗍's rubbish. All right, well, if it's rubbish, you guys... No BS unfiltered Miles has laser eyes. When I changed my bio, or when I changed my Twitter profile to laser eyes during the bull run, it was basically the top. Like, I think I had laser eyes at like 55k. So that I'm off the laser eyes now, bro. Maybe I have them, but they're no longer going to be a profile picture of mine. Energy web token. Yeah, so I hope you guys understand the play here. Hopefully I've made that clear with Bitcoin. It's all based on Bitcoin, right? Because alts are showing weakness, I'll explain the logic. Because the alt BTC pair is showing weakness, ETH BTC, alts are still a short over Bitcoin. Because I would just short Bitcoin, but it's not going to drop as much as alts. Alts look horrible. And if ETH rejects here, then, I mean, we can make new lows. So that's kind of why I'm thinking of shorting alts. Short term. Like tomorrow when we talk, things may have changed. But that's just what I'm seeing right now at this second. And there's probably enough bearish news to stop the market for now. The Yellen thing wasn't great. Powell was a bit hawkish. SEC coming back. I mean, it just doesn't look... I don't know. Maybe it's just a shakeout before the resumption of the trend. And I would 100% subscribe to that theory. But if there is a shakeout, you know, how low does it go? Does it shake out to 26.5? Do we shake out to 25.2? How low is the shakeout? That's the question. So we just trade based on price action around this 26.7 level. And then, yeah, we reassess to 26.5. You move your stop. You have those price targets for 25.2. I probably actually open some longs in this region. And then hopefully we resume. Because at the end of the day, any shorts I make truly are more of a hedge because I'm still more net long than I am short. So I actually am predisposed. I'm more predisposed to shorting alts due to the fact I have enough long exposure, long-term exposure. So I don't really mind hedging. Okay, in fact, it's great. It can keep the dollars ticking while other things in my portfolio bleed. So that's why I don't mind it. I don't mind not being full bull all the time. Short ape. Look, I think INJ looked decent. Nia could be decent. Matic looks decent. But yeah, all relies on Bitcoin. Yeah, ape looks bad. They all look bad. They all look shit. If we're being honest with each other, the alts have gotten smashed. There's a few alts that look good. Arbitrum, perp dexes. Quenta's come down. Let's look at Quenta because I really want an entry on Quenta. I don't own any Quenta, but I want to own Quenta because I think it's good. Oh my god, I should have shorted my freaking level. I was literally spot on. We even had a retest. I'm pretty sure I drew this before. Maybe it was after. I don't know. If it was before, I'm pissed. I should have shorted. Hard to short Quenta though. It's only got like a couple listings. I don't even think it has perps. This is great. This, by the way, there's not enough price data to come up with levels. It's in this big zone. Yeah, once again, not enough price data to come up with levels. So it's like the only zone we have is this big zone. It's like you could argue to buy right now, actually. I'm a DCA some Quenta. Because I think medium term it's a good one. So this isn't a trade. This is more of a 2 to 3 month hold, I think. I'll DCA. I'll start DCAing some Quenta. Good time to DCA some Quenta, I think. Not financial advice. Obviously, you can go low. You can go to the 400 region. So what I'll probably do is put in a third now and then a third later, and then see how price reacts. But it's just good. It's a good coin. It's a perp dex that runs off synthetics, and since it's dropped so much, that's good. That's good for. I've been just full disclosure. I've been wanting to DCA into this for a few weeks, and I just haven't gotten an entry. So I was just like, nah, I'm waiting. I was watching this thing pump. I was so close to FOMOing, but I'm like, no, Miles, you have to wait for a pullback. Finally, we're getting the pullback. Finally, I can look to start DCAing. Finally. I'm going to do it slow because, I mean, this chart looks awful. And it could go down to $400 again. But at least we're down 30% off highs. Thoughts on Rune? As a product, very, very interesting question, Iskren. Because the other day someone asked me, Miles, they said, Miles, I've got US dollars on my MetaMask. I don't want to put it onto a centralized exchange. How do I buy Bitcoin? And I was thinking, how do you buy Bitcoin? Bitcoin's not MetaMask compatible, so you can't buy it on Uniswap. You could buy wrapped Bitcoin, but then that kind of defeats the purpose of buying Bitcoin if you're going to hold it. How do you buy Bitcoin? You can trade leverage. You can open up a long position, but once again, that's derivatives. It's not actually holding Bitcoin. Then I remembered THORChain. Still basically the only working solution for this problem. You can trade Ethereum or USD into Bitcoin. So you can go 𝗧𝗿𝗍𝗍𝗫. And on the other side, you'll get Bitcoin out in your native wallet. So you can connect your ledger and your MetaMask. So fundamentally, I mean, maybe layer 0 eats the pie a bit, but fundamentally what Rune's doing is very unique. And long term, it's still a project I'm extremely interested in. I don't have much exposure long term because the chart looks terrible. Look at the breakdown we got off the 140 region. There was no indication to me that there's a good buy zone for Rune yet. I think my first long-term DCA zone is probably around $1. But until then, the chart looks horrible and it's probably a short at $1.44. This region. But fundamentally, I like what Rune's doing. Quinta 575. Yeah, it's because of supply. Look at the supply. Only 500,000 tokens, right? That's why it's expensive. You don't need to buy a whole one. You can buy a quarter of a Quinta if you want, or a tenth of a Quinta. Yeah, you degens are going to pump this. Let's actually see if you're already pumping it. No, not yet. Look, I'm not aping, by the way, so don't worry. Don't feel FOMO. You really don't need to FOMO. It's a super slow DCA. Super slow DCA. Is Quinta your project? It is obviously not, no. Grail's more expensive? Yeah, Grail's crazy. Good Grail. Grail's insane. $4,000. It's crazy. Grail, man, this thing's ripped. This thing's freaking been on a moon mission. I fear we've missed the entry with the Arbitrum airdrop. All right, I'm going to head off. Go to the gym. Write some threads. I've actually got to write this airdrop thread for you. That's I got to finish it because I got to put it out tomorrow when Arbitrum launches. That'll be on the top 10 airdrops. Also, I'll do a video tutorial this weekend. If you want to trade, remember, we have the giveaway on OKX. Arbitrum will also be listed on OKX for the Tesla and the iPhone, which is in 4 days. So big giveaway to win prizes. Remember, every 10,000 in cumulative trading volume equals 5 raffle tickets. I explained earlier in the video how that works. Also, Bybit will have Arbitrum as well. There's a link in the description there. And then we've also got Apex and G-Trade for the decentralized traders, the guys that are trading on-chain. So thanks everyone for joining. Hope you enjoyed. I'll wait to see how BTC reacts to this level. Don't be too bearish. Don't think it's a reason to panic. I just think, as I said earlier in the show, we're kind of in this new paradigm of 25.2 to 29K, and longing into the top of resistance isn't smart. Like I said yesterday, and lo and behold, we did get a drop. So you can look for that short down to the bottom of the range, reassess 26.5, or you can just wait it out. If you're not a short-term trader, you can just wait it out. Trade Arbitrum tomorrow, trade shitcoins on Arbitrum, have some fun, and then we'll see when Bitcoin makes up its full mind on its trend. Someone said, teach me how to degen. Don't worry. Every video teaches you guys how to degen, especially the Sunday streams. Maybe we do some airdrop farming on Sunday. Fuck it. Maybe we make that a series. Let's make that a series. Let's do like an airdrop farming with Miles series on Sundays. Would you guys want that? That'd be cool, I think. There'd be a lot of headaches though, because there's a lot of issues on dexes like on-ramping money and off-ramping money. But I think we should do it. That'd be really fun. Yeah, let's do that on Sunday. Let's do an airdrop stream on Sunday. Let's do that. Yeah, because I've been streaming for 4 hours on Sundays. Let's just degen on chain. Let's just have fun on chain. Awesome. Let's do it. All right. I'll see you tomorrow for a normal stream, and then on Sunday we'll do that. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.